Welcome to Built-In Boots, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes at the DDS companies, where we're laying the foundation for tomorrow's infrastructure. In each episode, we bring you the real stories from the people who make it all happen, honoring everyone from the field to the front office. Join us as we explore their journeys, uncover the lessons they've learned, and show you how to build a rewarding career in the civil construction industry. If you're ready to learn from those who've built their success from the ground up, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hey, it's Jordan from the Built-In Boots podcast, and guess what? We've got a brand new co-host in the house.
That's right. I'm Griffin, training coordinator here at DDS. On today's episode, we're breaking down how we onboard new employees, plus giving you a sneak peek at our exciting training partnership with BuildWitt.
We're pulling back the curtain on what it takes to set up our crews for success from day one, and how these industry partners help us raise the bar even higher.
That's right. So buckle up and join us for a deep dive into the future of training and onboarding here at DDS.
Welcome to the Built-In Boots podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Potter. I'm joined today with the one and only Mr. Mark Payne.
Yeah, listen to all the hype in his voice. Ooh, scary.
The crowd cheers. Oh, man. Where are we at today, Mark?
Jordan, we have landed at our headquarters in our training center, actually the Teddy Fusco training room. We are post-summit. Actually, I don't think the seats are even cold. That's how close to the summit we are.
My man, that was one hell of an event. And I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of the team to witness that go down. We're talking about the DDS Leadership Summit 2.0. This is the second year in a row that we've done it. And you guys did one hell of a job.
You know, here's the thing. I'm really happy that I am able to be a part of it. I try to organize things and help where I can. But really, my hat's off to two different teams here. Number one, the senior leadership team. They were coming back from an event. They were under a time crunch, and they pulled through everything that they had promised to do. They did, and everything lined out perfectly. Now, part of that is actually the team that I have the privilege of working with right here in the training center. Everything was perfect. We walked in. The tables are set. Everybody's name is there. Everything that each person needed to get was there. It was all customized based on the person. The sizes of the vests were right. Everybody had everything they needed right there in front of them.
Truly amazing. Well, speaking of your team, we do have a fellow here today that I'm absolutely pumped to bring onto the show, Mr. Griffin Haley.
What's going on, fellas?
Man,
there you go. There's my man.
I feel like I have a legend sitting next to me right now, my man.
Yeah,
he is
100%.
I'm going to title this thing like, I don't know, introducing Griffin Haley from training coordinator to guess what? Podcast host.
There we go.
I just dropped a bomb here early in the episode. That is actually one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on the show. We want to learn about Griffin Haley. We're going to talk about what we're going to be doing for the podcast in the upcoming season. We're actually going to introduce you, Griffin, as a new podcast host, so we're going to get to know you here. Griffin Haley, tell us about yourself. What do you do? What's your title for DDS? Give us a little bit of backstory.
Yeah, all right. So like you guys' intro said, I'm Griffin. I'm one of the field trainers here, or training coordinators. I came on board about a year and a half ago. I handle a lot of the NEO, new hire orientation, so everything from day one, getting them signed in, getting any certifications they may have, right down to the hands-on on our Wednesday and Thursday day for more of our field guys. Going through, confined space, line locate, actually digging up mock utilities and kind of showing them what it is we do, because a lot of us that are coming in the door are anywhere from right out of high school to somebody with 20, 30 years experience, so it's definitely a different role than I'm used to, but it's something that's kind of cool.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to dive into that. I do want to talk about new employee orientation. It's something that we do very well here at DDS, thanks to Mark, you and your team, and Griffin, you, of course, brother. What brought you to DDS? Like, let's go right from the origin of this whole thing.
It was a race up Dansville Hill. That's what it was.
What?
No.
So directly what brought me here, I want to say it was a rainy day, and I had just gotten done pouring and stripping Simon's forms right downtown Rochester in a power plant. And I called my old Alfred State professor just to see how he was doing, see where he was at.
And who might that be?
That may be Mark Payne. So we would always, we stayed in touch. Maybe once every 3 months, I'd see him at the gas station, and catch up with him. Always saw the DDS truck. I kind of was in a couple different roles, but that particular day, it was cold, wet, and if anybody's dealt with Simon's forms before, they are no fun. So
They are very heavy.
yeah.
See, this is why I wouldn't want to do concrete work, is because
Yeah.
that is brutal.
There's a reason those guys are crippled. That's for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I do flat work all day, you know. But yeah, we got to chatting. I got about an hour ride home, about same as Mark, and I think we were about 45 minutes into it. He was talking about what he's building here, what he has built here, and what his future was. And he said he has a crazy idea. He was looking for somebody just like me, is what he said. And he wanted to see, if he had a spot available and maybe what that would look like for me to come over and start here at DDS.
Wow.
Yeah, I was looking for a character, and I think I found one.
You got one.
Yeah. I think that was on my report card once or twice. Never a pleasure to have in class. It was always distractions and whatnot.
No, come on. If I had to fill out a report card on you, then, hey, I would have put the pleasure in class for
fair.
sure.
That's fair.
So you actually were in the field, you were working, doing construction. You're saying Simon's form, but Simon's form?
Simon's forms, yeah.
Simon's forms.
Yeah.
I've always seen the logo, but I never actually said it. Anyway, you were in the field, and I assume you were doing foundation work at that point, structural work.
Yeah, structural. It was all civil. We were building a retaining wall for a power plant, actually. So, if I kind of jump back to the beginning, my old man, he owned a shop for 25 years, my entire life. So for the majority of my life, ever since I could help him over there, I started wrenching on cars, got into that, learned a little bit of the side of the body work, figured out really quick I don't have the patience or the steady hand that my father does to do the painting or anything like that. But yeah, I thought that was my path for the longest time. I mean, he grew up in the house I grew up in. The shop was right next door. It was that small town feel. You kind of think that, hey, one day I'll take this over. My brother, he's into computers. He does a computer science thing. So I always thought, one day I'd take that over. I went to Bosse's for the diesel side because I thought, if there's anything I can add to that shop, it may be integrating that diesel side of things.
Yeah, very cool.
So it was about halfway through my first year at Bosse's, I want to say 11th grade. I kind of went with my dad and talked to him about, we'd always mentioned it loosely when I was hanging around the shop. Everybody would say, I can't wait till you take it over. I can't wait till you take it over. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And things kind of changed. He built it from, $800 to selling it for a few million.
Wow.
Just 25 years later. So he kind of brought that up to me. And without saying it, he said, "Hey man, you can't afford this." It really wasn't. It was one of those nature of the beast. He worked so hard to make the business what he is, and a lot of self-made guys, especially in this industry, always forget about the back end. You never maybe plan for that retirement date to hit. Some life events happened. He was ready to call it quits. With the new technology, insurance companies, everything like that. They made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Right? So, I finished out my Bosse's career there, had an amazing teacher, David Teal, shout out. He was a great guy. Kind of learned what worked out to be preventative maintenance for me. So
very cool.
I wasn't really done with school. I knew I didn't want to sit in a classroom. I was never good at that. A little antsy. I found about Alfred State. I want to say out of the 23 kids I graduated with, 7 of them went to Alfred.
Wow.
So it was kind of a natural path for us, not too far away, about an hour away from my hometown. So yeah, I actually signed up for the heavy equipment operations because during that time, me and my father sat down. He said, I don't want to see you by the time you're 40, 50, broken and your knees hurt and your hands hurt and your back hurts. Why not go into something where it's mechanic adjacent and you make maybe a little bit more money sitting in the seat? So that's what I did.
That's a really, really cool story. So your father actually owned a business and sold the business. Your plan was originally to take over the business, right?
Yeah, that was the hopes. That was the hopes and dreams, carry on that legacy.
Yeah. Fast forward to today, you are now a training coordinator here at DDS. And for the listeners, for the people that are in the field, maybe what is the training coordinator? What does a training coordinator do every day?
I think we're still figuring that out, but
everything.
I don't know about all that. It's definitely, like Mark said, I'm a people person. So the main thing is I'm the first person they see as a new hire when they walk in the door. And usually on Friday, I'm shaking their hand and I'm about the last one they'll see heading out, wherever that is across all of our divisions, Rochester, Cortland, or Albany. So it's pretty cool. I get to get some of those guys that, like I said, have no experience, and some of those guys sit in the back of the class and they're teaching me things.
Yeah.
So it covers everything from the basics, code of conduct, first aid, CPR, and into those more intricate things like line locate, stuff that I learned when I came through my NEO.
Yeah.
With that, I get to get out into the field and touch base. Usually every 30, 60, 90 days, I try to wrap with those new hires, see if what they felt and got in training was good. If they see any gaps in their training, like, hey, something we didn't prepare for you, how can we build our program better? And for me, I came from just a civil side. So as I'm out there, I'm learning the gas side of things, the underground drilling side of things from those foremen that are on site. So it's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Now I guess podcasting too. Never would have thought.
Yeah, the one of my guys keeps talking about the ... any other duties as assigned. And yeah, I mean, you never know what that's going to be, dude. You never know. I didn't think that I was going to end up being a celebrated chef at DDS either, but
People love it when you cook.
I like that.
People love it when I cook, and frankly, I haven't had as much time to do that lately as I would like.
Big shoes to fill, ladies and gentlemen. When I show up with that training trailer, they are happy but disappointed I'm not the other bald guy that they were hoping for.
Well, I think it's a perfect segue into the purpose of why we're going to give you another hat to wear, Griffin, Mr. Podcast Host. Being in full transparency, Mark and myself, we have full-time jobs here at DDS. Unlike popular belief, we don't just do podcasting full-time.
You guys aren't part-timers?
Yeah, right? Well, I guess I am, but,
Two locations.
Two locations, that's all.
So we kicked this podcast off last year. We did a little pilot run. We did the road show, and it was exciting stuff. It was awesome to do it. Mm-hmm. We were able to knock out, I think, 7 locations within 2 days.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a great time. It was fun. I got really good at setting up the trailer, getting the generator out and getting everything ready to go. Yeah. And, it was good to see the guys in their natural element. I'm used to them coming to me in a classroom someplace, whether it be for an annual or something like that. And, it was good to go out and visit them in the field.
It was a really fun trip. We had the camera guys there with us. We were actually shooting some video stuff for our new website.
Yep.
We had Chelsea from Arterra there as well. She was kick-ass to have out there with us. She's phenomenal. As we've gone through this process of podcasting in this pilot run, right, Mark and I kind of came to the realization that we can't be everywhere at once, let alone be there at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, what we figured out was that with me living half of my life in Boston and working with Feeney Brothers, my time here at DDS, hopefully some additional time with my friends at Mid-South and, trying to expand from there. And, our new friend Billy Kidd from SEC.
He's awesome.
Trying to expand with Billy Kidd. Yeah, shout out Billy Kidd. That man he's a legend.
He is a legend.
And, the story of, Billy actually introducing himself to me, I will never forget that, and I'll tell that on a later podcast when we actually have Billy sitting in the seat
let's do
with
that.
us. But anyways, with all those things going on, Jordan's trying to run a very large division here as well.
And we're trying to grow it, by the way.
And we're growing Jordan's division.
Yes, sir.
From the time this is recorded until when this drops, Jordan's division will grow.
It will. By several people. And
be growing.
Yeah. So listen, at the end of the day, we're smart enough to know that we can't do it all. And so Griffin, we volunteered you / Voluntold.
There we go.
Griffin, you're gonna help us with this whole podcasting thing. So the goal is for Griffin to kind of fill that gap, whether it's me and Griff or Griff and Mark, or maybe even just Griff, or maybe even just me. But really, we'd like to have at least one of us here with you, Griff, at all times. But the goal is for you to kind of experience more of the field stuff too, get you out in the field. You've got your CDL, you've got you've got the ability to haul that trailer and go to the guys. you are a training coordinator for DDS, and yes, you do a great job at new employee orientation, but that's not all that you do. Getting you out into the field with the guys is going to serve a greater purpose as well. And so really, bringing you on to this function, this part of the team, helping us share our stories, helping drive that culture is going to help you in your career long term, and it's going to help DDS long term. That's the goal, is help people grow, maybe even attract some people into the business. You've got a great story behind you, Griffin, and I'm proud to have you on the team, brother.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I'm excited. I'm excited to, like you said, get back out into the field. One thing I never thought I'd be doing is, as much desk work or interior work as I am, but it's a nature of the beast, ever changing. You got to be fluid, and I'm excited. I think this is going to be, amazing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great time, and it's a great fit for you. You said it yourself. You are a people person, right? And when you and I had our early conversations, what did I say? I'm like, I need a guy that can be a people person. I needed a character, and you are a character.
Yeah.
And so
I can be, that's for sure.
That it just worked out. And the crazy thing is, even your time with me at Alfred, you were able to build a connection with pretty much anybody in the room. It didn't matter who they were or their background or where they came from, whatever, you were able to connect with them. That's what makes you so good at your job.
Yeah.
The fact that you can come in here, we have the content, right? We have the plan, we have the content, we have all that stuff. I need the guy that can go through and connect with the folks. And that right there is the key to success.
There's a couple things I want to dive into now that we've kind of officially announced Griffin as, the runner-up, next up, podcasting king.
Yes.
I got the easy job. You guys did the legwork, man. I'm coming in skating, baby. We're ready.
So there's a couple things I want to talk about, and the first is this. The first is new employee orientation. When DDS first started doing this new employee orientation, I think it looked a certain way. And Mark, maybe you came in and you kind of redefined what new employee orientation was. Can you explain what new employee orientation is? And these are for new folks that may be looking to come on board here. Explain it as if you're explaining to somebody new.
Sure. So let me put credit where credit was due, right? When I walked in here, we had a pretty good program. There was a pretty good framework already in place. There were several others before me that had laid out that framework, and they did a great job. When I came in, it was kind of the perfect storm. It was post-COVID. We had some momentum. We wanted to grow, and I came in Griffin's role, the role that he's currently doing. That was my role, and I was doing it. And again, it was a good time. I knew the material. I had taught at Alfred before, so I had a pretty good background. I could go out and I could walk the walk, talk the talk.
Right.
And I was always the first one to say, hey, I don't know everything about gas, but I know about all this other stuff, and I can make it work however we got to do it. So with new hire, let's dive into that a little bit. That new hire program, trying to build a bond with somebody that is coming in first thing. Typically in construction, the way it works is you come in, you fill out some paperwork that first morning. They maybe find you a hard hat, a pair of gloves, maybe a vest, and maybe a pair of safety glasses, tinted ones, of course.
Of course.
Of course, right? Sorry.
You look cool.
Yeah, you got to be cool. So anyways, you get all that stuff and, they tell you, okay, well, you need to report over here on day 2, and that's where you go. That's what you get. Maybe some computer-based something, maybe a couple hours long.
Right.
Maybe. What we've tried to do is we tried to set folks up for success. In that new hire process, we come in and we start out right off the bat with OQs. We talk a little bit about the HR piece. We tell people how they're going to get paid. We try to work through all those pieces to make it so that we take away all the stigma and all the question of what things are going to look like. We're trying to make it as comfortable a process as possible, but what we're also doing is we're going above and beyond what our customers are expecting. We are setting a really high bar for folks. They know that they have a class about excavations. They understand all the rules behind those excavations. We do confined space. We do demo saw, chop saw. We do line locate. So we give folks the tools for success right off the bat. It's a week-long commitment. And at the end of the week, they will test out. They will go back to their locations, maybe have some follow-up testing there. But a person that's came through that is typically at least prepared to start that job. And they know they have a basic understanding of the tools, kind of an understanding of how the day's going to go. They understand what the JSA is going to look like, and they're ready to rock out. So it's 2 days in the classroom, 2 days outside at our Widener Road location. And then the final day is typically a wrap up, a catch up of other items, outstanding items, usually classroom based.
Wow.
And then travel back to your home location, right?
Mm-hmm. You hit on this earlier. A lot of construction companies, they don't do what we do.
No.
I mean, you're talking about guys or gals coming into a field, getting thrown paperwork and then a hard hat, maybe a vest, and maybe some
the paperwork.
Yeah,
maybe the paperwork.
Probably a handshake, and hopefully you brought your own hard hat and drop you a pin. This is where we're at.
And get your ass on the job and get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that DDS has absolutely innovated in this area, and we've taken onboarding to a whole nother level. I mean, I really think, again, I'm in operations. I'm the one hiring the guys, right? I'm the one who's hiring the world, as Mark loves to say.
Yeah. Jordan's going to hire the entire world and send them to us all at once, of course, and not want them yesterday, right?
So I hire the world. And they come from Southern Tier New York. They come from Central New York. They come from Albany, New York. They come from all over New York State or out of state, and they all travel in to Rochester, and they spend a week with your team.
Yeah.
Griffin, so you're kind of leading the charge. What are your thoughts on the way we onboard new employees?
Man, I was blown away. When I came through my NEO, I had a few years in the civil industry with nothing with gas, but it was very much a handshake deal. My first boss, great boss. He liked my attitude. He liked who I was. Handshake, I'll see you on Monday. And for the first 2 weeks, I was running a demo saw, bevel and pipe. We were doing storm and sewer. And, it was, hey, man, this is our last stick of pipe. Don't mess it up.
Oh, my goodness.
You learn measure twice, cut once type deal. It's those things that you kind of learned. It was very brief on the demo saw. Like, you ran a chainsaw, right? That type of deal. Here's your can of gas, run it till she's empty, and fill it back up and keep going. And there's some of that trial by fire that I guess builds who you are. But in today's day and age, like you guys have talked about on previous podcasts, we don't have the benefit of pulling those guys with any experience, whether that be on a farm or whether that be in a shop of some sort. We're pulling guys sometimes that are green, and green is good for us. We would rather train you the way we want you, have you learn when you're in the field on those more specific things, but know what that JSA is, what is dangerous on pieces of equipment, your swing zone, your demo saw. We always say, Mark and I always say when we're training, the demo saw is the most dangerous piece of equipment on a job site, just as a skidster is. It's usually those new guys running it. They don't have much experience on it. So I was blown away I think I told Mark this many times when I came through my NEO, just absolutely blown away. I had never had anything like this, and I learned a lot. I'd never, as many confined spaces I had gotten into, I'd never once seen a tripod, never once seen an air monitor. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
I was young. Foreman X, Y, or Z said hop in that hole, and there I went. Thankfully, I wasn't the smallest guy on most sites, so I didn't have to do it often, but never had seen a tripod, never had seen a line locator. That whole code rule 753 was, you'll spot me, right, bro? I'm going to make your job easier, you make my job easier. There was a lot of things that I had to relearn, but it's really getting prepared. And sometimes even those 20 or 30-year experienced guys come away with at least something. More often than not, I learned something, but it really is just amazing.
We talk about the triangle on our gear all the time. Safety, quality, accountability. It all starts right here.
Yes.
Day one, it starts new employee orientation.
Yeah, right here where we are sitting, literally. This is where it starts.
I got to say, for anybody who hasn't been to the DDS Rochester shop, the training center in and of itself is a phenomenal testament to DDS's commitment to training.
It is.
You have to understand, like, when you walk in this building, you see these ceilings out in the shop are probably 40 feet tall. We're up on the mezzanine here, overlooking the shop and the mechanics and the big iron getting worked on, the trucks getting worked on. And the training center takes up almost the entire width of his shop.
Yes, it does. And let me just jump in for a second, Jordan. I want to point out, when I came here, I had been with the college for quite a few years. I had been in a lot of different construction headquarters and things like that. And what blew me away was the commitment that DDS had to the training. The fact that they would take a week, number one, that blew me away. When I was asked to come up and meet with them and walk through, then I was sold.
Yep.
I'm walking through and I'm like, crap, this is better than what I have at the college.
Wow.
I'm
It's a
I'm
Kwanzaa
moving up, right?
Yeah, what we were learning in.
Yeah.
It was an oil field.
Oh, yeah, it was an old refinery. It was the Sinclair oil refinery, right? No, I mean, seriously, when you walk up the stairs and you walk through these rooms and you understand the dollars and cents and the commitment that goes along with this and the staff that we put towards this. Right now, it left me speechless at that point. And today, when I step back and I look at it, on my ride home tonight, I'll reflect on everything that has went on this week. It's just amazing how much we put into this. And it's not just OQs. It's the complete package. Okay?
Yeah.
So when we look at this, a couple other things that go along with this. When you are bringing somebody in, Jordan, you're interviewing these guys, you're going through, you're trying to pick the best fit. And I know that you're refining your process constantly in how you're doing that and trying to get better. When I was in Griffin's shoes, I was looking at these guys that were coming in and I'm like, whoa. All right, I don't know if this is a good fit. I don't know if we made the right call here. And now we're looking at it, I think, a lot different. I think that we're looking at it not only as, is the person a good fit? Culturally, are they going to be successful? Are they going to be successful with the testing? Are they going to be successful with, a lot of other aspects that go along with this work? That became a part of it. And, that incoming pipeline, that became, well, let's be frank, we feel like we're finally honing in on the right people to join our tribe.
Yep.
The commitment to this, and now moving forward, we're talking about adding in BuildWitt training and access for all of our field staff. Listen, when we get to that, it's not just, my favorite one to pick on is Aaron did a series on the porta potty.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, porta potty training. So my favorite part of that is, I laugh and joke about it. And oh, by the way, if you're listening to this, Thunderbox is what they call that in Australia, apparently. I think that's where it is anyways. And the guys love that. They think that's the best thing ever, and that is the big takeaway from that lesson, just so you know.
That was the second thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay, so I'm jumping the gun a little bit.
So here at the Leadership Summit, we unveiled something that I thought was incredible, and we got involved with BuildWitt training last year, Mark.
We did. We started last year, and we started with 100 licenses. And we were just kind of piloting it. We were trying it out. We were trying to see how we would implement that tool and how we could best use it. And we tried it. A lot of us took training. Griff and I did a lot of training on there. I had it set up so it would drop on my phone first thing in the morning, put my shoes on, and I would play a video.
Yep.
It was good. It was good stuff, 3 to 5 minutes a day. And we watched the BuildWitt video today a couple times. Better happens every day. It doesn't happen overnight. It's every day.
No, that's a great video. One of the most exciting things that I think is coming down the pipe here is us getting involved with BuildWitt.
With developing the training content. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about developing the training content. So Griffin.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's back up for a second. I needed a guy. I needed a character.
It always starts like that.
And here he is. He's right here. I knew I had a character that could do this. So, no, it worked out perfect. We had a relationship with Reed Tools. Basically, the year before Reed came to Widener Road, they had reached out to us and asked us if we had a location that they could shoot some video on. Reed came in with their own team and shot video, and it was long form. And it was cool. It was fine. And it went on YouTube, and it's on their channel. And if you have a chance, check it out. It's good stuff. But it's long form video. And, what I started to wonder about is how do I make that go on the BuildWitt platform? How can I get that into a microlearning? Yep. And so I talked to the folks at BuildWitt. I'm like, hey, I've got this crazy idea. I have a connection with this tool manufacturer. What if I connect you with the tool manufacturer? I'll provide the location and we can all come together to do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, well, that sounds cool. Let's try it. And what were we? 22 videos later, 23 videos later, something like that.
22 videos, yeah.
And, we took several months and we were on Teams calls at least once a week with the manufacturer, with BuildWitt, and we're talking through how we wanted this to roll out, the script, everything else. And lo and behold, we got to a point where they're like, okay, we're going to set up the shoot date. Here we go. We set up the shoot date. All their stuff arrived. They arrived. We went over to Widener Road. Actually, I went to Erie, Pennsylvania and picked up a couple of pallets full of tools in my trailer, brought those up. And now all of a sudden we are recording tooling videos and an introduction to gas distribution tooling.
That's amazing.
For BuildWitt training. And it worked out perfect. And now at this point, and it hasn't happened yet, but at this point, we are talking to BuildWitt about expanding that. That's and awesome. Going into some other manufacturers and things like that.
That is really, really exciting stuff. Griffin, can you explain to the listeners, walk us through what that was like working with BuildWitt and kind of putting that training content together?
Well, first, Mom always told me I was going to be an actor. So, Mama, I made it. That's
that's great.
Long overdue shout out to Jim Walter, JW.
JW.
You're my boy. He helps me through NEO. He is my subject matter expert. The guy has got 30 plus years experience in gas.
Yep.
If I have a question, he's over with me on those hands-on days during NEO. And just as he was in NEO, he did for our BuildWitt videos. So I did the talking parts. I went over the actual ins and outs of things, and he was the one demonstrating how these tools are used and the best practices for them. But man, talk about did I ever think I'd get here? Speaking of J-Dub, he's looking in right now.
Speaking of the devil, J-Dub, he's out there right now. He heard his name. He heard his name talking. Yeah. Look at that.
He tries to act like he don't like the attention, but
he loves it.
Oh my God, basks in it.
Yep.
But no, it was amazing. Never, ever. And Mark and I, probably every couple of weeks, I'll look at him and be like, did you ever think you were going to be here? When I saw you at the college, and he asked me the same thing. And the answer is no. BuildWitt is absolutely amazing at what they do. They came in 3 deep. They had a director. They had multiple cameras, lighting. I mean, they made it so easy that all you got to do is stare at the camera. The script gets refracted right into the camera lens, and you kind of read right off of that. So it was
wow.
It was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. A lot like you do, where you just keep rolling. If you mess up and you just keep rolling, they'll cut it for you.
That's amazing.
It was very cool. It was a very cool experience. I learned a lot. We were able to collaborate with Reed on some of our different, whether it's NGA or NGC, what that tooling list looks like. We were able to, in fact, 2 of the engineers were with us for those shoots, so they were able to kind of get an inside look at something that they don't really see all the time.
That is really, really cool. I think when you look at microlearning, we talk about the younger generation and how they consume content, social media, the whole nine. Actually, part of the reason why we're doing this podcast is we're kind of just share a message, right?
Right.
Social media, content. Microlearning is that, Mark, has that been around for a while? Is that a new format for training?
It's kind of a new format for training. It was, a lot of the courses were like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you'd get into like an hour. But come on, when you sit in front of a computer for an hour on a Teams meeting or something like that, it becomes a point, you reach that point of diminishing return, right?
Right.
You're distracted, your phones are going off or whatever the case may be. So you're trying to make the best out of it. This micro-learning thing, look, we're meeting folks where they're at. I talked to a room full of supervisors, superintendents, foremen, number 2s today. And what I said to them is, show of hands, show me how many of you look at Reels or look at, TikTok or whatever.
Or
watch
YouTube.
Short form YouTube videos,
YouTube
whatever
shorts.
the case may be. And a surprising number of hands went up.
Yeah.
I said, okay, so the rest of you are lying because you all are looking at the cat videos and all that other stuff, and I'm not talking about the cat equipment. You're looking at the funny cat videos, which I laugh my fool head off at, but that's a different story for a different time.
Yep.
Anyways, this short form is how folks are looking at stuff. I said, okay, how many of you watch the evening news? Only one hand went up. I said, and you must be angry every night.
Yeah, I know.
But no, we talked through that today. And I'm like, look, I'm trying to meet folks where they're at. I'm trying to give them something that they can digest. Yeah. And it's useful TikTok.
It's pretty cool. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, he took the words right out of my mouth. To get those guys to have the buy-in, thankfully the culture's already built here for training. We have the buy-in. Okay, we know we're sending a guy for a week in NEO, and we know at least once a year we're going to come to them actually, and they're going to see our faces again for more training. But when we first rolled it out, it was, is this one more thing I have to do? Or, you get some of the guys who aren't the best with technology that really don't see the buy-in. And it really wasn't until this week that when the BuildWitt video dropped and they saw DDS's logo, they saw, hey, they actually have something for what we do on here. I think that the buy-in was there. I mean, right after this Leadership 2.0 broke, we had a sign-in sheet for people who wanted to sign up. And I think I got 17, 18 leaders right off the rip. Came right out the door, signed up. And these are some guys, a lot of them be in energy service where they live on the road. It's not anything for them to be in Rochester today and, go down to Tennessee tomorrow.
Right.
So they got nothing but seat time to listen to these things. And in fact, one of our biggest listeners to BuildWitt is Kobe.
Oh, really?
Colby's all over it.
He's churned and burned those things, and that's because he put some miles on his truck, but it's definitely different. We were able to fill that gap with BuildWitt in the gas distribution side. I mean, they had pretty much everything but. So it was a very cool partnership, set up by Mark Payne. He's right in front of me, so it's easy to give him his flowers. But what's cool about him, and I don't know if I've actually told him this, but on our team, I tell everybody is, this is the same man that was my professor in college. He always had these ideas, whether it be BuildWitt or building a training program. This is who he is to his core. And now he has the team and the resources to actually support his vision. And he's building it for something that he's wanted to do for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
thank you.
amazing. It's so easy when you have somebody like that as your boss, but as somebody who's cut the path for you. Really, the whole idea is try not to do the death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Like Mark touched on, I mean, they say you got somebody's attention for 45 minutes. When you're doing CPR and code of conduct, I'd say that window goes down to about 30, but it's all on how you sell it. Trying to piece together those trainings into, their daily form.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for
better participate in one of your new employee orientations so that way I can actually.
Yeah, Jordan, it'd be nice if you actually showed up for NEO sometime. I don't know, man.
Joke.
Well,
Put you through the gauntlet.
If I can tie you to a chair, that's going to be the big thing.
That's going to be the hardest thing. Well, listen, I think our time is kind of running along here, and that's okay because we're excited to have you on, and we're excited for the future.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, man. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. I'm very much looking forward to the upcoming season. It's going to be an exciting year for us here at DDS. We're growing. We have big goals, big ambitions, big initiatives, and I'm excited for it. And I'm excited to have both of you here with me and be part of the team. I'm excited to be part of the team here. I'm humbled. So I'd like to ask you, do you have any closing thoughts before we roll this thing out?
Man, I'm excited. Any of the listeners here that may be employed at DDS, get a hold of me, get a hold of Mark, get a hold of Jordan. We're going to be out there, whether, like they said, it's myself or Jordan. Maybe Mark will give us a cameo when he's got the time. We'll get Macy to put it on his calendar. But if you think you want to be on this podcast, don't be bashful. Hit me up. I can be in Cortland. I can be in Albany in just a few hours. I'll come out to you and we're going to make it work. And, anybody that's listening that isn't at DDS that maybe wants to get involved with DDS, get a hold of us. We'll put you in the right direction. Or, I think with BuildWitt, their whole goal is whether it be DDS or any other company, get into this industry.
Yeah.
Do we need it? Whether it's at DDS or another blue collar field, we need it bad. It's good money. Hard work, you'll sleep good at night, Yeah, it's exciting stuff, man. I'm happy to be here. Never thought I'd be a podcaster. Add that to the old job title, baby.
Add that to the job title. And it's really cool. DDS has given us the opportunity, Griff talked about it a little bit here. We've had the opportunity to go and do this. We've had the support, management has been behind us. Mike Fallett, he's got an open door, and every once in a while I'll throw a crazy idea at him, and he's like, oh, well, that sounds pretty good. You ought to go do that.
Yeah, not even behind us, but pushing us.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
No,
yeah,
you're
for
right.
sure. So it's cool. I never thought that I was going to be shopping for a podcast rig.
Yeah.
A year ago we went down that road of where we were going to try to do this thing, and here we are. So
pretty amazing stuff. Again, I want to say thank you to you both. For the listeners, please subscribe. Please help us share the show. We have content being posted on all the social media profiles.
All the socials.
Jordan?
Yeah,
thank
shout
you,
out
thank you,
Jordan,
Griffin.
for sure.
We've got a Built in Boots Instagram page where we're sharing content there. We've got the DDS Instagram page and the social media stuff all over, of course. But help us share the show, subscribe, and if you are interested in becoming part of the show, like Griffin said, hit us up. We'd love to have a conversation with you and share your story, especially if you're here at DDS and you've got great stories to tell. So, thank you guys so much for coming on this show, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
See ya.
See ya.